Warm greetings, fellow Rovers. Welcome to the Virtual Learning System or VLS on the Roversville Emergency Responders course or RERC, a complement of the Knights of the Rover Order of St. George. I am Henry Hutalle, one of the facilitators of the International Rovers Training Camp for this training program. The Roversville Emergency Responders course is designed from the standards of the Community Emergency Response Team by the FEMA of USA. Being a certified first aider, an emergency service instructor, and an advocate of disaster risk reduction, I find the standards suitable for Rovers on their quest for service. The RERC covers 6 modules which we considered for the Roversville Emergency Responders course. The course modules include Emergency Preparedness, which we shall discuss in this presentation, Emergency Medical Care, Fire Safety and Suppression, Water Safety and Life Saving, Search and Rescue, and Incident Management. From many disaster risk reduction models that are available, RERC adopts the 3 phases disaster risk reduction model. The 3 phases are: first, emergency preparedness; second, emergency response; and third, recovery. As a self-sustaining emergency responders group, Roversville is limited to cover some strategies to be of service. The emergency preparedness phase includes mitigation, training, facility, and provisions. The emergency response phase covers medical care, fire suppression, life-saving, and search and rescue. And the recovery phase covers disaster relief operations, temporary sheltering, and reconstruction. Disasters can be very extensive that can affect whole community. During the disaster, the response teams may not be immediately available, and members of the family will be on their own for several days. Hence, the need for emergency preparedness. This presentation on emergency preparedness should enable the participants to define the roles and responsibilities in emergency preparedness, determine hazards in your community, undertake emergency preparedness, describe the functions of the emergency response, and demonstrate earthquake safety. The emergency responders have very significant role to themselves, their family, to fellow responders, and to the community. Our roles and responsibilities in emergency preparedness are to advocate emergency preparedness, to mitigate or lessen the impact of disasters, to be first responders and attend to emergencies, and to coordinate with the authorities during disasters. Emergency operations planning is one strategy for emergency preparedness. The emergency response team should define team and individual roles and responsibilities, define lines of authority, define protection of the responders, people, and property, and determine required personnel, facility, equipment, supplies, and other provisions. The emergency responders leaders' responsibilities are very crucial. They should participate with the local emergency planning, collaborate with the local emergency groups, and ensure that facilities, staff, and provisions are prepared. Public emergency preparedness is a concern of the RERC responders. They should learn community alerts, warnings, and other emergency operations, network with local emergency groups, give feedback to community leaders, report suspicious activity, and encourage volunteerism. It is also important that we engage the community on emergency preparedness. We should be able to make the community safe, prepared, and more resilient. coordinate with emergency groups and community leaders, and collaborate on emergency preparedness for effectiveness. We should be able to determine the types of disasters in our community so we can prepare and deal with it properly. Natural disasters are caused by nature, such as typhoons, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. Technological disasters are fires and explosions from electricity, chemicals, and nuclear facility. And intentional disasters such as terrorism, genocide, and other man-initiated destructions. There are three key elements of disaster that we should consider in emergency preparedness. They are unexpected. We do not know when, where, and how. It can overwhelm or limit response due to extensively affected community, and the lives, health, and environment are endangered or damaged. We have to be knowledgeable on the local hazards vulnerability. The responders should know the common and recent disasters, the hazards with most severe impact, identify hazardous locations, and the required mitigation and response. We should also be aware of the various emergency units and their duties in our respective community. The police counters offenses to public safety. The firefighters suppress fires. The search and rescue team conducts victims rescue, and the emergency medical team handles life-threatening injuries. Let's go to our respective homes and look for hazards from home fixtures. Do you have flammable gas for your cooking range? Appliances, cabinets that may fall, probable electrical hazard from appliances and lines, probable fires from faulty, overloaded, and frayed lines. Emergency preparedness in homes, schools, and workplaces. It is not only in our homes that we will see hazards, but also in our schools, workplaces, and in the community. Let us then engage with our fellow responders in their home, school, and workplaces on emergency preparedness. Let us now prepare for disaster as members of our own Rover emergency responders team. What do we need to know? We should have knowledge on the local hazards, alerts, warning systems, evacuation, and sheltering plans. Knowledge on the elements of emergency preparedness, and prepare for specific needs for self, family, and community. And the most important is our emergency preparedness at home. Let us discuss with the family on the following. Determine plan to stay and or evacuation. Prepare for clean air and ventilation if we decide to stay. Prepare to protect from debris and prepare for signal if dropped. Removal of contaminants or flammable chemicals, and prepare for provisions, foods, clothing, and supplies. In most disasters, emergency sheltering is very necessary. The Rovers should prepare for emergency sheltering, sheltering at home, sealing a room, emergency foods and equipment, sheltering for extended stay, prepare for 1 week emergency supplies, community shelter, emergency supplies, clothing and equipment, and 1 week provisions. Developing the disaster plan. When a disaster comes, we're not sure that the family are all together. But with the family disaster plan, we will have meeting place for the family on emergencies, alternative place for the family to stay, the routes to the meeting place during emergency, and means of transportation to the meeting place. It is also significant to have an emergency escape planning in case of disaster. In planning an emergency escape at home or workplace, consider needs of children and individuals with disabilities. Inform family members of the emergency escape plan and practice drills on the emergency escape plan. I am giving you an assignment as our exercise number 1, home emergency planning. I will ask you to prepare a home emergency plan with the following requirements. 1. Determine what are the probable disasters that your community home is vulnerable. Determine what home emergency plan you should prepare for such disasters. Please submit it to me in our discussion board, Rerc VLS course number 1 at FB International Rovers Training Camp. A family escape plan. Here is a sample of a family escape plan. The solid red lines are the primary exit and the broken red lines are the alternative exit in the meeting place of the family after the escape in an emergency. The family escape plan should be discussed, agreed, and practiced by the family. As a Rover responder, we should keep a responder emergency kit which we can easily pull out in case of emergency. Basically, it should contain water, 3 days food provisions, communication equipment, first aid kit, lightings and battery, clothings, and rescue equipment. As part of emergency preparedness, the family emergency food provision for 1 week should be prepared and stored. Ready-to-eat canned foods, easy-to-cook foods, milk, cereals, soups, food for infants, staple foods, and water. And of course, do not forget to keep and maintain a first aid kit that should contain the following: sterile gauze pads, gauze bandage, triangular band-aids, adhesive tapes, scissors, cleaning agents, cotton balls, roller bandages, tweezers, exam gloves, face masks, and tank sticks. For families that have bigger houses, home emergency tools and equipment are necessary. A hydraulic jack is not only for vehicles, it is also used for search and rescue. Fire extinguishers are most helpful when there are fires. Prepare and maintain toolkit, fire extinguishers, and emergency equipment. A disaster may cause evacuation and community sheltering for some days. It is necessary to prepare clothing and bedding kit for emergencies. Prepare at least 2 sets of clothing including underwears, shirt and pants, rainwear, blanket or sleeping bag, extra pair of shoes. Disaster mitigation is the reduction of loss of life and property by lessening the impact of disasters. It also includes any activity that may reduce the effects of hazards. This training alone can be a mitigating factor in your respective family because they can now avail of a first responder in the family. Your knowledge in emergency preparedness will mitigate hazards right inside your respective homes. Let's start it now. The home hazards mitigation. Do the following at home. Anchor heavy furnitures, secure appliances and other equipment. Locate and label gas, electrical and water emergency shutoffs. Secure gas flexible lines and close valves when not in use. Build and equip an emergency room. Fortify your home. Protect your home from typhoons, floods, fires, earthquake, and other disasters. You can strengthen your foundations, walls, and roofing. Secure house from floodwaters. Check electrical lines and switches. Prepare necessary fire extinguishers and more. Respond to emergencies at home. As an emergency responder, you can easily locate and turn off utilities, extinguish fires, conduct family search and rescue, treat injuries, help relieve survivor stress. Responders' first responsibility is personal and then family safety. Responders assist EMS personnel in emergencies. Get involved in emergency preparedness. Be an emergency responder. As such, you can survive in disasters, save your family, sustain and assist your fellow responders, and serve in your community during disasters. The RERC organization is the Rover Emergency Responders Corps, which is administered by its executive committee and directly managed by the Corps Commander. The Rovers Emergency Responders Corps organization and functions will be discussed in Module 2. As an emergency responder, you shall be equipped with personal protective equipment. You must be able to protect self from possible injuries while serving in emergencies: hard hat, glass or goggles, mask, work and medical gloves, starter safety shoes, and rescue backpack. The Rovers Emergency Responders Corps are trained on the following emergency service: emergency preparedness, emergency medical care, fire suppression, water safety and life saving, search and rescue, and disaster relief. The Rovers Emergency Responders Corps also perform non-disaster roles. The RERC leaders assist RERC fellow members and their families, assist community, school, and NGOs, assist in crowd control with authorities, and promote emergency preparedness and volunteerism. The last topic for this emergency preparedness is the earthquake safety. We are all vulnerable to earthquakes as we live in a very dynamic world. Climate change is truly affecting our daily lives, and many times we experience earthquake. Whenever there is an earthquake, we recommend that the earthquake safety procedure be performed. The first warning will be, do not panic. First, drop, cover, hold when earthquake is felt. When shaking stops, move out calmly and fast. When aftershock is felt, repeat, drop, cover, hold. Gather in the designated evacuation area or an open space and account for every person in the group. For earthquake safety, when you are inside your house or in any building and you suddenly feel an earthquake, do not panic. Seek shelter and protect yourself. Duck, cover, hold under a starter table or desk. Move away from heavy furniture, hanging objects, and glass panels. In earthquake evacuation, as the shaking stops, it can be followed by aftershocks. Stay in the safe spot or object you have sought shelter with until the shaking stops. Once the shaking stops, take the fastest and safest way out in a calm and orderly manner. Earthquake in high-rise building. What if you were at the 24th floor of a high-rise building and felt that it is shaking? Do not panic. If a desk or table is nowhere, move against an interior wall and protect your head with your arms. Do not seek refuge near glass panels or furnitures. Move away from chandeliers and hanging objects. Do not use the elevator for evacuation. After getting out of the building, go directly to the earthquake evacuation area. Gather as a group in the evacuation area. Account each member in the group. Report any missing person for necessary search and rescue. And if you felt earthquake during vehicle driving, do not panic. Pull over to the side of the road and stop. Avoid stopping under overpasses, near buildings and power lines, or near a steep hill. Stay inside the vehicle until the shaking is over. Do not attempt to cross a bridge or an overpass. And when you are inside a mall and felt an earthquake, do not panic. Do not rush to the exits. Seek shelter in a safe spot or wall. Move away from display shelves that would slide and topple. move away from glass panels. If you felt earthquake while in church or theater, do not panic. Do not rush to the exits. Stay in your seat and protect your head. Do not try to leave until the shaking is over. When the shaking stops, leave in calm and orderly manner. And if there is earthquake while on the street, do not panic. Move to an open area. Get away from power lines, posts, walls, and other structures that may fall or collapse. Stay away from buildings with glass panels. Duck, cover, hold into a doorway to protect yourself. And when you are experiencing earthquake while on the seashore, do not panic. Assume that earthquake may cause a tsunami. If the sea waters retreats right after an earthquake, it is a sign of tsunami. Run away from the shoreline. Go to the higher grounds. In summary, I hope that we were able to get some significant aspects in emergency preparedness. Can we now define roles and responsibilities for emergency preparedness? Describe types of hazards in the community. Undertake emergency preparedness. Describe functions of the Rover emergency responder on emergency preparedness. And demonstrate earthquake safety. This is our first virtual learning system for the Rovering program. Actually, we are testing the system for Rover training courses here at the International Rover Training Camp. I will also be joined in by some international Rover instructors from UK and Asia. This is just a start, so we hope to see you in the next module. Thank you for viewing. So we promised, so we serve, so help us God. Till we meet again.